For those who are just joining us, my name is Kyle B. Thompson. I'm the programming director of the Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival. We're just almost 2 weeks away from being down in Fort Myers Beach for the 16th annual festival. But of course, before we jump into that, we are jumping into the next 2 weeks. Great, fantastic virtual interviews with some of our filmmakers who have awesome films playing in this year's film festival. And I'm super excited for this one. I have Travis Mills, who is here ready to talk about his film Heart of the Gun, which is an awesome, awesome feature-length Western film that we're going to just dive right into. So let's bring Travis in. Travis, hello, sir. How
Great
are
to
you?
be. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Well, first of all, man, great, fantastic film. I mean, to pull off a Western is, I think, a whole challenge in itself. I've never done one, but I'm sure it has its challenges. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like, what got you into filmmaking? Where you're calling in from? Give us a little backstory.
So I've been an independent filmmaker for the last 12 years. I started my company in 2010. I'm currently in Arizona. I've made a bunch of features here. I also worked a little bit in the South, specifically in Mississippi, where my mom's originally from. Those are random places to make movies, but that's where I had family roots, in Arizona and Mississippi. And I've just kind of been doing my own thing for the last 12 years. I've made 25 features and just kind of not taking no for an answer and just making it happen. So it's been quite a journey. And yeah, this film was the last of my 12 Westerns, which you and I talked about a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about it. And that was the most challenging part of the journey so far.
So, I mean, tell us a little about that. I know we talked about it briefly, but you did 12 Western films in 2020. And I originally had thought and assumed they were just short films, and you had told me that they were feature films, which is crazy. How did you guys pull that off? I mean, that's a pretty big, undertaking. How did you guys pull that off?
Well, you're totally right. It was crazy. I had this idea to make 12 feature films in a year. And of course, that wasn't hard enough. I had to make them all Westerns. And that wasn't hard enough. I had to pick 2020 to do it, right? You know, the best year
Of
ever.
course. Yeah. Well, that's
Right?
the best time to film.
Global pandemic was on its way. So yeah, it was nuts. And everybody involved kind of thought it was nuts, but they were so intrigued, that they just had to sign up. And but it was a dream project, and Westerns is a very cool genre. You can actually do a lot with the Western. There's so many variations you can make: modern Westerns, horror Westerns, all that stuff. So I really wanted to explore it to this full extent.
Yeah. I mean, not only so. First off, 12 feature films is insane to me. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anyone who not only done that but done it successfully. But you also, in this one, you were also an actor in the role in the film. Was that all 12 of the films that you also starred and directed, or was it just this one?
Well, I started playing roles, bigger and bigger roles, kind of as we went along, and started to kind of enjoy acting for the first time, because I was playing, as you know, in the Heart of the Gun, I play this crazy maniac bad guy.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed playing bad guys in the Westerns. And this was a fun character. I always wanted to play him. He has, well, I shouldn't spoil it, but he's got an interesting past and interesting hairdo, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody see the movie. But yeah, it was just fun to be on screen and off screen, and just, I was just living and breathing it, man. I had no life other than making the movies.
That is awesome, man. Well, tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know what the film's about. Tell us a little bit, give us a little synopsis about the Heart of the Gun, and then I'd love to play a trailer for everybody.
Sure. So Heart of the Gun is the last of the 12. It's also the most personal film of the 12 for me. It's a romantic Western, but a dark romantic Western about this military doctor who's deserted from the cavalry, and he's looking for his long lost wife. And along the way, he comes upon this woman, Sarah, who kind of resembles his wife, but she's been attacked. She joins him on this journey as they go through all of these violent experiences and kind of grow through it,
Wow. Yeah, it's an awesome film. And before we jump into some questions about the film, I would love to show everybody who's watching a quick trailer of The Heart of the Gun. That's awesome. I think we actually used the end gunshot in our sizzle reel this year. Dude, first off, yeah, great job. And for those who are watching, it plays April 29th at 5:15 p.m. at the Beats Theater in Fort Myers Beach. So a ton of questions. The first question I'm going to have out of the gates is what were some of the biggest challenges pulling off a Western film? And you guys filmed it in Arizona, I take it?
Yeah, this was filmed mostly in this really random place called Young, Arizona. You can only take a dirt road to get there, so it's like very remote.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Did you guys have? Was it like a permission piece, or did you? I mean, I take it was, but did you guys? How did you guys pull this off? I mean, pull a Western feature film off in less than a month and making it look incredible. What were some of your biggest challenges on set?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there's incredible landscapes in Arizona, and some of the Westerns were a little bit more run and gun with smaller crews. I mean, this still had a really small crew, I think like 10 people, and great cast, but I just like to work really fast and efficiently. Biggest challenges for Westerns are always, working with horses and the logistics and pulling off gunfights and all that kind of stuff. And this is a very character-based Western. It's a lot more like Unforgiven or True Grit than like a shoot 'em up Magnificent Seven. That's kind of the vibe. Right. But yeah, I mean, they were all challenging, and this one especially was challenging because the script meant so much to me. I really wanted to push the actors, the crew, and myself to do the best work we could possibly do.
Yeah, it definitely shows for it. And you mentioned going back working with horses. Did you have to cast people who sort of knew how to ride horses, or was there like training ahead of time? I can't ride a horse, let alone even look at one barely. So it's like, how did you guys pull that off? Did you just find the actors know how to do it, they feel comfortable with it, or tell us more about the casting process?
It was a combination, because there were a few films that we just cast actors and then tried to teach them to ride horses, and you can usually tell the difference. I mean, you can't just get on a horse and look like you're Sam Elliott. It just doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah.
I was a little familiar, but I'm still what I would call a mediocre writer, right? But then on this film, we got lucky because our lead actor, John Mars, who worked on 9 of the 12 Westerns, you could say he was my John Wayne, you could say, of the series. And he's an expert writer, and our lead actress Amber's an expert writer. And I mean, when you see them on horses in the film, they're totally comfortable. They know exactly what they're doing. And it makes a huge difference. I going forward, I really only want to work with people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. It definitely shows. Why I asked that question. That actors, sometimes you find actors, especially when I'm from Philadelphia, in New York, they might not have the experience of riding a horse. I mean, being a city guy myself, we don't even have a horse anywhere in a 30-mile radius of our city. So I think to find actors who are definitely comfortable, but also it's very clear and obvious on film that those actors knew how to ride horses, and I think that's an incredible aspect to a Western film. Now, the horses were those. I mean, how did you find the horses that would do it? There's also, I think there's one beautiful shot, if my memory is serving me correctly, where the horse, your actress is like down by a river, and the horse sort of comes up onto her. Were the horses, film trained, or was it they just sort of that just happens to be worked out for the shot? Or I mean, what was it like having a bunch of horses on film sets?
When you're making movies like this, you really have to get lucky and depend on just great people, and I was able to meet some wonderful people along the way. One guy named Todd South, he provided most of the horses for the movie, and they weren't movie trained horses in the sense of like what you would get in LA and Hollywood. Right. But they are good horses, right? And we would, you do stuff like you desensitize them to the boom mic. You make sure that they know what that is so that they don't freak out when it gets close to them. You test gunshots, the blank fire before you do a scene to make sure you're not going to all of a sudden have a horse freak out. You kind of just get them used to the environment, the cameras, the lights, all of that stuff. And then like the moment you're talking about where the horse kind of comes up to her, these things just happen sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And working with animals, horses and dogs and all kinds of animals, and you get really lucky cinematic moments, which is great.
So that was totally like unplanned. I just
Exactly. It was unplanned. Yeah. And a couple takes before the horse had kind of ruined it, but that one was just the perfect touch that seemed
Yeah.
natural.
It almost, for me watching it, it sort of gave you this human connection between that and the horse. I thought was, definitely someone who, I don't want to give too much of the story away, but a character who was clearly suffering, and I just sort of gave it like a gentle, caring touch, which I thought was, a really interesting a spin-off. So it's great to hear that was totally unplanned. It just sort of happened, and it works great for the film, which is awesome. So my hat comes off to you, sir. That's really good stuff. So you obviously played a part in the role or in the film. So as a director, was that any challenges there? Like, what were some of your challenges being in the film and also directing? Was that like difficult for you? Was that natural? Or tell us a little about your preparation for that.
Yeah, well, I've done it a little bit, like I said, in the past, and in a couple of the Westerns, I played even bigger roles. So I was in front of the camera more than in Heart of the Gun. It can be challenging. Obviously, you're not looking at the monitor. You're not watching the other performances. You have to rely on your DP or someone else to give you notes on your performance, or watch playback. So it can be challenging, but it also is fun, and you can kind of direct the scene from being within the scene to some degree, right? Like you're just directing in a totally different way because now you're interacting with the actors, so you can kind of steer them in a direction by how you deliver your lines.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but yeah, it's just, I mean, that's the fun part of making movies, is
Yeah.
getting to play bad guys and all kinds of characters. And the hard part is being a director, producer, and all the other hats that I wear.
Yeah, and that's incredible, man. I've never, as a filmmaker myself, I'm not an actor in any way, shape, or form. So every time I see a film that is starring or has as a character that's also the director, I'm like, man, I can't imagine what that's like to go through, and what it takes to prep for that in general. Let alone also the many hats of a producer and all that fun stuff as well. So that's incredible, man. I do have something that's really unique. I thought about your film was specifically your color and the tone of your film. Did you guys have a colorist that you worked with before that, or did the look come in later? Because it has this unique orange and blue tone going for it that I thought really set the tone for a Western. I just wanted to know, was there any preparation for that, or did that just sort of come later? Did you guys have a colorist? Tell us a little bit more about that tone and what went out to get that correct.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that, because it is a very unique look for Westerns. And that really all comes from my collaboration with my cinematographer, my director of photography, Nick Fornwalt. And we've made, I think I've lost count, but we've made 8 or 9 features together. So we have a long relationship, and it's grown over the years. And when we approach this story, a lot of times in the pre-production phase, there's a conversation, what does this film look like? And we're drawing references. We're looking at stills from Unforgiven, True Grit, talking about what we like, what we don't like. And a lot of times color temperature kind of, makes its way. And then we shoot tests, and he plays with different, what's called color LUTs on screen.
Yeah.
You hear that? That's my dog. I'm sorry.
I know. I got a 2-year-old over there, so.
Yeah, he's being restless. But anyway, so we play with different color LUTs, and I think when he found that bluish texture, we just both responded to it so much, and it became a look at the film. He colored it himself. The DP.
That's awesome. That's incredible. So I'm actually a colorist outside of being a programming director, so I'm super always drawn to color, and that was the one thing that always stood out to me over your film, was just that unique color. And I think it's great that a lot of, as a colorist, I get a lot of film or projects that are like, all I know is what's on the screen at this point, and I'm like, all right, let's work with this. But I think having that relationship with your DP ahead of time, man, is incredible. I think it goes to why you're able to pull off all these feature films, and 12 feature films in a year. That goes to your planning, man. So well done. That's really well.
Prep and planning, I think I've learned more than ever, and even through the 12 Westerns, is just so essential. You know what I mean? That's just such a huge part of a successful project, is the mental preparation, thinking these things out.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about sort of your costume design as well, right? And obviously some of the props that you guys have used, it fits perfectly into a Western in that time era. Like, did you just have a costume designer? I mean, like, how did you guys pull that? And also, like, let alone getting some, prop weapons that really fit the time era that you were going for. Like, How did you guys pull that off?
Well, authenticity super important to me. And I knew going into the 12 and Heart of the Gun specifically, you, like I said, you got to find the right people to work with. You can't do it all yourself. And I lucked out because, again, the actor John Mars, we're all wearing lots of hats. He helped co-produce this. He has an
Oh, wow.
extensive knowledge of that time period and what's
Okay.
accurate in that time period. And we work with a lot of people that they have an interest in this. They're reenactors, living history performers, and they have some of their own wardrobe. And John and I go through all of the stuff, and he pretty much says this is like the cavalry outfits that you see in most movies are total bonkers. This is like not realistic at all. So we were adamant about things being as real as they could be. And so he kind of checks the authenticity, and then I'm sort of, dictating the style and the creative choices of the wardrobe, like the buffalo coat or the bear coat that my character wears. We wanted something like that. And again, we draw references from other Westerns and say, I want something like that. And we had this great lady in Tucson, Arizona named Renee. She designed select pieces like that. And then the rest just came from John's wardrobe, other actors' wardrobe. And he's also, believe it or not, he was the lead actor. He was helping me produce it. He's also the armorer. So he provided
No way.
of the incredible guns that we used.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of attention right now to using guns on set, being safe, fire. And I have to say, even though we're a small production, a crew of like 10, not working with much of a budget, we never rushed anything. And John was always safe about checking the weapons and making sure people were safe. And if we're shooting blanks, no one's going to be in the line of fire, or we're using plexiglass and all that stuff. So I'm really glad we did it the right way, and that I had collaborators like him.
That's incredible. It's also incredible that you were able to pull, you have that long-term relationship with your DP. And I think I was just talking to a filmmaker previously around just having that collaboration and being able to have the people around you is just going to sort of make it the best film possible. I think, I've worked with, some of my team for years, and I think that's super important to help sort of tell the story. And I think that shows in your film that you were able to, again, to pull 12 feature films off in 12 months. I'm tired just thinking about it. So like for you to pull that off, man, it's, again, my hat comes off to you, and you should be really proud of that, because it's incredible. Which leads me to one of my last questions here is, right, with this film, what are you most proud of this project?
Oh man, well, I think that, after making all these movies for 10, 12 years, like I said, all of this adding up, Heart of the Gun, really, I tried to just make it everything that I've learned from all that time, and to push the actors to a new level, to push the crew to a new level. So I just feel like it's the best work that I've done to this point. It's the most complete work that I've done. So nothing specific, but we can always improve, and I hope whatever movie I do next is better than Heart of the Gun. But this is everything I had. This is every tool I had, every ounce of energy. Even after making movies for 11 months, I was not burnt out when I made Heart of the Gun. I was as passionate as I could be to tell this story.
Wow, man, seriously, that's incredible. Because I think, again, for you to pull off 12, anyone to pull off that many feature films in that short time frame, and to have the energy to keep doing it, I think is great. I'm really excited to see sort of what your next films are going to be, and obviously I hope you join us again at the film festival in future years. I'm sure we'll see you again with that type of energy and that passion. So, so Travis, where can we find you, man? Obviously, right, you have so much energy to continue on. I'm sure you'll make more films. Where can we keep track of you? How do we follow you on social media? You have a website, or obviously we want to stay up to date with everything you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Travis Mills, filmmaker and actor, is my Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. That's a great place. I'm using that more and more. Travis Mills, Travis Mills _ filmmaker. I'm on Twitter. If you look me up, I'm sure you'll track me down. You can Google me.
Right.
.com is the site. The 12 Westerns has their own Facebook page, and most of the movies are on Tubi, which is a free streaming service. So not to watch them. I think we've got 9 of the 12 up on Tubi now. So dig in. And the most exciting thing about playing at Fort Myers Beach is, as I told you, I'm flying out there. I'm going to be there the whole festival. I'm going to be there at the screening. So I'm really excited to actually experience this with you all in person.
Awesome. That's really exciting. Well, Travis, we're excited. I'm excited to hang with you and meet you in a couple of weeks, man. But thank you so much for joining in. And you know, I'm super excited to see sort of your next films and obviously meet you in person in a couple of weeks. But thank you so much. Yeah, take care. Guys, awesome. So I mean, that's incredible. What a person who really sort of drives the whole point of filmmaking and keeps that level of energy going. So guys, please be sure to meet him again. Heart of the Gun plays Friday, April 29th at 5:15. Coming out. You do not want to miss this film. It is awesome. It's shot beautifully. It's such an incredible story. And definitely to see the art and the work that he has put into this film. So definitely come out Friday, April 29th. But for now, guys, thank you so much. My name is Kyle B. Thompson. I'm the programming director of the Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival. There's my social media. Feel free to follow me. Come say hi. I'm super excited to meet everybody in Florida in just a couple weeks. We'll see everybody soon. But stick around. We have a lot more interviews.